episode, the start. Welcome, fight fans, to episode 15 of the Hooks In MMA podcast. We've got a great episode tonight. First off, introducing our guests that we're lucky enough to have on the show. We've got Tristan Boondock Connelly. He's 1-0 in the UFC, hailing out of British Columbia. He's recovering from some injuries now, so stay tuned. He'll be getting back in the octagon in early 2021. And then next, but certainly not last, we've got Johnny Kid KVENBO Munhoz. He's a UFC fighter as well, bantamweight. He's 10-1 as a pro MMA fighter, and he's also planning on getting back in that octagon very shortly. So I hope you guys enjoy those interviews. They're going to be great just to learn a bit more about their backgrounds and how they got into this career. Next, we're going right into hot headline news, breaking down that pay-per-view that happened over the weekend, and also talking about some of the new announcements from this week. We've got Poirier and McGregor with a big fight announcement in December. We've got some potential matchups to tease with you with Masvidal, Edwards, Covington, Diaz. And also want to start speculating what's next for Jan and Izzy after those impressive championship wins over the weekend. As always, we're heading into easy lines to cap off today's segment. So definitely get your bets out for this one. We've got a fight night coming up this Saturday, and we've got some great expert tips to share with y'all. So jumping right into the UFC pay-per-view 253 breakdown, let's start things off. Adam?
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, so pretty eventful card on the weekend. Well, minus the last two fights, I thought it'd be a little more back and forth, but pretty dominant performance by Adesanya and as well by Jan. Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. I thought it was going to be a little more battle, but both those guys just picked apart their opponent. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, what I thought was kind of interesting is, or what I've kind of noticed in UFC is that when you're trying to be the intimidator and the guy isn't intimidated, you now become the intimidatee. So I feel like Costa was trying to, get in his head a little too much, do all these things. Even in the fight, he was like pointing this way, trying to tell him to go this way or that way. And, when it doesn't work on the guy, it kind of reverses back on you. And it's like, well, now I'm the discouraged one, right? This guy, I'm not in his head anymore. So I think that kind of played a part. But yeah, as I was saying to you guys before, went back and watched the fight at the very beginning, or first, when I saw it on Saturday, thought Costa came in with a bad game plan, thought he didn't perform well, whatever. After going back and watch it, I really saw what Izzy was doing there in terms of his defense. His movement was amazing. His footwork was amazing. He didn't make any mistakes. Not one footstep was a mistake, not anything. So, yeah, I was really impressed and, certainly excited for his next fight.
Yeah, and then the co-main that we talked about last week, Jan and Reyes, we said that it didn't get a lot of buzz and it wasn't really hyped that well, and it was really, really odd that it was kind of just taking second seat. It was the co-main, and it wasn't the Adesanya and the Costa and the battle of undefeated. But Blachowicz at his age looked fantastic. He came forward. Reyes's game plan I thought was absolutely brutal. He threw a bunch of leg kicks and that was it. I think he came in too overconfident. He thought that he beat Jones, and he would say after when people brought it up, I beat Jones and whatever. And then leading up to the fight, he kept saying, well, that was behind us and, we just got to look forward to the next. I don't think he did look forward to the next. I think he was still thinking about that Jones fight and how much or how many people said that he won, and the fact that he probably rewatched it a bunch of times and thought he won. Mm-hmm. That has nothing to do with it. It's who's in front of you next. And I think he overlooked Blachowicz, and I really think that was his demise. He kind of looked a little shell-shocked in there. He thought he was going to come out and just definitely dominate and win, and he didn't. And Blachowicz, Polish power, we talk about that all the time. It can't be dismissed. He looked fantastic. He came forward the whole couple of rounds. And the only mistake he made at the end was calling out John Jones. John Jones is moved up to heavyweight. Kind of a stupid call out, in my opinion. He clearly needs to fight the winner of Glover Teixeira and Thiago Santos next. That is the fight. Whoever wins that will get the next title shot. And if Blachowicz can win that, then you can start calling out. You got to defend at least once. You just won for the first time in your career a title in the UFC. Let's see what happens between Teixeira and Santos, and the winner will get Blachowicz next. We'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, you wonder if sometimes you hear after the fight, one of the fighters came in injured or sick, or they had something going on with their camp, and it was kind of weird. Reyes looked unbelievable against Jones, who's a lot longer fighter than Jan, and he did a lot better. And then he fights Jan, and it looked like he didn't do anything. Like, he threw some kicks, like you said, but anytime he got into the pocket, I think Jan just overpowered him, and he was right out of there. And those kicks to the ribs that he landed, you could see his skin was like bubbling over. Like, I've never seen a brighter, like, wound in a fight. Like,
fantastic kicks.
Oh, and I think he landed 2 or 3 in the exact same spot. And I think after that, I think he was done. I think he had his poker face on, because he just didn't look good that fight.
No, and I think just to throw in before Kronz adds something, one of the fights I was really excited for under the radar because of the 2 title fights was the third fight on the main card, and that was Brandon Royval and Kai Kara France. I mean, right off the get-go, a couple of finishes very close in the first couple of minutes, a spinning back fist and a great jiu-jitsu battle on the ground, and another $50K bonus for Royval. That's 2 and 2 fights for him, and he moves up and can maybe fight somebody like Askar Askarov, who's in the top 5 of the flyweight division. That was a fantastic fight, and that led into the 2 title fights. I thought that was great.
Yeah, great card all around. Even the Mean Hakeem fight I thought was great. It'd be interesting to see who he gets matched up with next. Thought he was pretty dominant there. Might have lost 1 round, but still, I thought he was very exciting to watch and look forward to cheering him on. But I did like Z-Ball's kind of analysis about the psychological impact of some of this hype game. I started racking my brain, like, what previous matchups kind of just happened where this might have occurred. And all I can really think is the O'Malley and Chito Vera fight, where O'Malley was antagonizing him, saying all these things, looking past him. And then, of course, Chito didn't say a word and wins the fight. The same could be said maybe for the Jan fight, where he didn't really say much. Reyes kind of, like you guys were saying, a little bit too cocky, maybe looking past him. And he kind of got put in his place. So maybe that's a lesson to these young fighters out there, and maybe just something to keep in mind, right, as that mental kind of head game. But no, he broke his ribs, broke his nose, broke his soul.
I agree. It's a good way to put it.
And I think Izzy, same deal. Like, he didn't maybe break any bones or anything on Costa, but he just destroyed him, one-sided match. And I'm really excited for both these champions to see how their careers head and who they get matched up with next.
And funny you say that, Kronz, because Blachowicz called out for a super fight today against Adesanya. I think that's a little premature, but I couldn't agree more. I can't wait to see who they fight next.
I don't know how much he called him out, or what I read, a reporter asked him that in the post fight, and then he just responded, "Yeah, like,
of course,
I'll take him." So
why wouldn't?
I mean, why wouldn't you? Like that? If I'm Jan, that's payday. You can retire. You could show up, get knocked out in 10 seconds, and you're set for life. So, but yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Like, I don't really recall all these like crazy potential super matches in years past. I feel like that's kind of a newer trend where we're seeing more and more of. But
And I think it's actually because of USADA a little bit, right? Like no longer are guys like not in weight classes that they shouldn't be in and all, and like some are juicing or too big, or some are losing too much weight. So yeah, no, I think it's what it shows at the end of the day. Hey, size does matter to a certain degree, of course, but what you give up in size, you gain in speed, right? So once fighting gets down to just technical stuff or technique, speed can often win. So yeah, no, it's gonna these type of big fights are really big. Like what I want to add on there, what Zone was saying before about Jan, yeah, like you gotta be ready. Like Chael Sonnen says, like you gotta be ready to call out someone. You gotta have a name ready, something that makes sense. If you want to say John Jones, okay, but come up with something like a little bit more creative or something, right? Don't just say John Jones, I'm waiting, like see ya.
Yeah.
Like come up with something. Or like I said, I would have thought it would have been really refreshing if he's just said Diego Santos had a great last fight against John Jones. He's gonna win this one. I can't wait to fight that guy because I know he's the best. Boom. Guess what? There's things on overnight, viral. All of a sudden, Jan's calling this guy. Da 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 da.
And
Hey,
it actually makes sense.
And that makes sense. And that's why it would work. It's because it makes sense. But these guys, they're all trying to do the Connor thing. Like it doesn't work unless you actually are Connor.
And if you look at Jan, he's not a Connor guy. He's the exact opposite. He doesn't talk much, and that's probably why the fight wasn't hyped up from the beginning, right? Like
he actually seems like a nice guy.
A nice guy, yeah.
Oh,
He's probably not going to be rubbing his genitals all over a bunch of girls. That's for sure.
Punching old guys in the head.
Yeah, Jan's not doing that, no matter what.
It's too bad Josh isn't here to defend Connor, but
yeah, he's a terrible human, but that's okay.
But yeah, back to the antagonist thing. I feel like you said, like the more these guys come in chirping, I feel like they got more pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
Usually, always the guy with the biggest mouth gets shut up. Like you look at all the stuff Connor said about Khabib, and Khabib just came in and smashed him. And same thing with Costa Adesanya. The only guy that can talk the most shit in the whole world and get away with it is Colby. He seems like the only guy that can just talk, and he just shows up and he's like unfazed. Like
unless like Kron says he fights Leon Edwards, and Leon Edwards has called out how racist and disgusting he is. If Leon Edwards knocks out Colby Covington, that'll shut him the fuck up for sure.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to go back to the GSP formula instead of the Connor formula, where everyone's respectful of each other, and that's the used to be the karate, mixed martial art. It was all about respect.
Hey, Son.
Everyone just talks shit.
Son, they're not all Canadian though.
Yeah, sure. There's some nice Americans. Look at DC though. The guy's a gem.
For sure.
He never talks shit about anyone.
Speaking of DC today, by the way, he said, "Is it time?" Or actually, Hawani said, "Is it time?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "Time for what?" He said, "I think it's time for Israel and Jones." He's like, "I think he's earned it." 20-0. Jones is undefeated, except for obviously that disqualification against Matt Hamill with the legal blows. Both undefeated. Is it time? It could be. It's bad timing that Jones said he's going to move up to heavyweight, and he's probably packing on the meat right now. But he also said that easily Israel could be the 205 champ right now. He looked big at 185, even though he cut weight, and he's just been dominant. So, could Israel beat Jan right now? Of course he could. And that division is a little bit weaker than it's been, losing Jones. You could make that fight now. I don't think they will, but skill-wise, I think so.
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? Like Adesanya, he's a pretty skinny guy. Like once you move up to heavyweight, like Miocic has probably got 60 pounds on him. Like the guy's massive, right? It'd be hard
I don't think it would be at heavyweight though. It'll probably be at light heavyweight.
Light heavyweight, right?
Yeah, 205 boy. But yeah, no, you're right, Davidson. Like he's a pretty wiry guy. So before this fight, I would have said John Jones and Israel. No, doesn't make sense. Whatever. No, I thought it was silly. Now after Costa performance, I am starting to believe the hype now a little bit more. I mean, I was already behind Izzy, but now I'm starting to think, yeah, he can definitely hang with John Jones, in the striking department. Well, obviously he's probably a better striker than Jones, right? Jones is a better overall MMA fighter, I'd say, right? But is he fucking good? I think that'd be very interesting.
Let me throw it out there to you guys, Crons, too. Like, if they fight, if that, just throwing it out there, if they fight, Jones in the past has stood up with guys like Reyes and Santos and didn't do well standing up, but I know he could wrestle them and he could beat them. But he stayed away. He stayed away from a Santos with one leg, even though he was dominant in wrestling. I kept yelling at the screen, "Why aren't you wrestling? Take him down. You could easily win in ground and pound with his dirty elbows." If he fights Adesanya, what do you think happens? Like, do you think Jones reverts to old ways, or does he win being a better mixed martial artist like Z-Ball says? What do you think? What do you think, Krantz?
I don't know. It's really tough to say with Jones because he's so unpredictable, right? Like, that's kind of part of his, I don't know, skill set is you can't really prep for him because he's so dynamic and you never know what he's going to do. So I don't really know what's in his head or what he's cooking in his game plan. But I do know he's pretty multifaceted, and I feel like even within a fight, first round, he could try to grapple, go on the ground, and then round 2, just to mess with him, he starts doing crazy range kicks or jabs or keeping him at bay. So I don't even have a prediction. I don't know what he'll come up with, but I would maybe even just say, yeah, he does everything in one, and he comes in and throws the everything but the kitchen sink at him.
All I know is I'm taking the over.
Yeah.
I like the over on that. I'll follow whatever you say.
Over 1.5 for sure.
Later in his career, he's done more and more of that, right? Kind of been a little more cautious, more conservative. What was it? What was the one fight he almost lost? The Gustafsson one, right?
Yeah.
And I think, since then he's kind of, I don't know, been a little more reserved.
I think that was pre-picogram, so who knows?
Well, there's the other.
Jones, one impressive thing about him, though, is he's always been the guy that says, "Oh, you're good at wrestling? Well, in this fight, I'm going to wrestle. You're good at striking? I'm going to strike in this." But the last couple of fights he's had, he's done that and barely won. So maybe he should learn from that and just do whatever the fight tells you should do instead of focusing on being the best ever by beating someone else at what they're good at, if that makes sense. Because you can't just figure out the future and predict it and decide it. Like he's done that all of his career, but the last couple of times he's been very lucky. So you can't do that anymore. You are better at certain things. Just do a wide range of things or wherever the fight takes you. That's what I would say.
Read and react.
Yeah.
Like they teach you in football, right? Like read how the play develops, how the fight's going, and then do your counter attack or your aggression. So that's a good question. I'm a little bit stumped. I don't know what I would put my money on.
Yeah, but the money line today said minus 375 or something for Jones to win that fight, and like plus 220 or something for Israel. I think that is very, very skewed. But what do I know?
I lay Izzy hard and just pray. Like, you know what I mean? That's all I do there. Like with that line, that's such a juicy line there for Izzy. So
age is on his side. He's on the upswing of his career where Jones is on his down.
Yeah.
That could be an X factor in itself, right?
But I'm surprised too, like, because like Adesanya is like, he's so successful and he's a very like, I don't want to say one-dimensional because obviously his striking is just, he's on like an Anderson Silva level, but he's not like a wrestler, black belt jiu-jitsu, like he's a stand-up kickboxer guy, yet he's able to defend the, I remember the closest fight that he had was the Gastelum fight where he actually took some damage, and there's a few times where Gastelum tried to take him down and he was able to pop out of it. But it's it's a different story if you fight a guy like John Jones.
The footwork and the speed was really impressive. Like Z-Ball was saying against Costa. I know Costa is big and bulky and whatever, but like his angles are ridiculous. Like that's why it's not even how good his takedown defense is. You just can't even get in there to get him. Like,
he couldn't even. But what was does Costa have like a decent reach, or is he like a little like brick?
he was still less than Adesanya.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Aldana has crazy reach. I wouldn't say Costa has small reach for a middleweight, but yeah, I wouldn't say T-Rex arms or nothing, but no, it's not long. But yeah, like it was like the angles he was taking on him all the time were just
good footwork, right?
Yeah,
And that was that that wasn't the smaller octagon, right? Because it was Fight Island. It was
that's
bigger.
the big boy.
The big boy.
So I don't think it would have made a difference, but yeah,
maybe
might have helped him.
It would have helped Costa for sure, but if it was smaller.
Right. That's what I'm. Yeah.
I
don't think anything.
But that's what I'm saying. But if it like I think Izzy still would have knocked him out probably in the second and third round if they were playing in that 20 or whatever, fighting that 25. But
did you guys see Weidman? Did you see what he was saying?
Yeah,
he could give a really, really tough matchup to Izzy, just stylistically, and
I believe that if it was 5 years ago, and if he could beat Kamari Akhmedov in 3 rounds, like
Weidman would get KO'd stone cold in like about 3 minutes against Izzy, and it would like be brutal. Like,
he hasn't looked good.
Feel bad for him.
His last fight, Marvin Vittori, who I like, solid guy, was chirping how bad he looked. He said he looked awful. Like,
he hasn't looked good.
So slow.
Hasn't looked good since 2017.
But I mean, if he believes it.
But then it begs the question: who is like Weidman today? Like Weidman was 5 years ago. Like who's a comparable? Because maybe that is the style that would provide a challenge. I don't know.
Well, Vittori did give him a good fight, and Israel won by decision. That was a good fight a couple of years ago when Israel was just starting to get big. Yeah. So maybe later on, that could be.
He's only getting better though.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
but
his pecs are getting way bigger too.
You guys want to talk about Connor Poirier, boy?
Charity, right? All for charity. What do you guys think? Is this a hype play or is this real or what?
Well, didn't Dana come out and say now that UFC's in negotiations with both of them? But
I heard he offered that fight, but they decided to do this instead. That's what I heard. But
I didn't quite hear that. He offered them fights, but he didn't specify this. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'd like to see the Instagram private messages of that.
Yeah, the Zoom call, the recorded Zoom call.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? If it happens, let's say it all goes through Ireland, December, what was it, 12th?
12th, yeah.
That would be like, I know I would pay for it. Like, I think it would kill it in terms of pay-per-view buys and
for sure
revenue generated. So I think that's a smart move by Connor. And even if he's just trying to hype up his own UFC pay-per-view, so be it. I think it's a really savvy business decision, and he's using the leverage he has. And I'm not a huge Connor fan, but all the power to him, I guess.
What about if he could somehow get some kind of, how boxing, like they have like a couple of undercard fights. It's not like UFC where there's like 14 fights.
Mm-hmm.
A couple very interesting undercard fights. Like I'm throwing this out there, like a Dylan Dennis and like a Masvidal. Like just bringing in a couple guys that chirp the shit out of everyone that would bring in a ton of fans. Like imagine that. I would 100% pay for that too. Fantastic.
What's Dennis's contract with Bellator? Is he?
I don't know, but he's only 2 or 3-0 ever, and he keeps saying this guy's shit. This guy's shit. Yeah. I'll fight that guy. I'll kill him. This guy's
the only guy I hate more than Colby is Dennis.
I just think that would be, if they could somehow scrounge together like a couple of like very exciting chirp shows basically for their undercard, it would be one of the best charity shows you could ever ask for. Although the money I don't think will go to charity, but that's okay.
Yeah. A small portion of it.
You think too, like sometimes we see these like headlines and like Dana White's like, Connor sent a screenshot and posted it. I feel like Connor and Dana are sitting side by side when that happens.
They might be. They really might be.
I feel like they just try to play the world like a flute.
Yeah.
And we all buy into it, and these guys make a shit ton of money because of it. And now with social media and stuff, it's so easy for these guys to promote their own.
Because you only see the screenshot of what is said, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
let's send this out to the world, and they read that and think, what the hell's going on? They don't send a whole scripture of what's going on. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
very,
No
very,
context.
yeah. It
Soap opera,
makes the
man.
fan, yeah, it's a soap opera. It makes the fan think and talk about it, and now we're talking about it, and
Yeah, exactly.
Good theory there. I think you're right. I think you're
Yeah.
spot on.
I
So.
also think Dana White's like, he owns like 50% of Proper 12 or something under an alias name.
Shell company.
Oh yeah,
But
just love it.
Siphoning money.
it's an interesting matchup though. Like obviously it's a rematch, but Poirier has vastly improved since back then. So like
Oh, yeah.
that's the crazy thing. Like that might even be, I don't know what the odds, if there's any odds on that one out there yet, but like that's almost a pick'em fight in my opinion at this point. Like because
Yeah.
Poirier's boxing has gotten ridiculous. I think obviously be favored towards Conor because I think a lot of the public money would go down on him, but you know, it's not as easy as like, you know, last time they fought, which was a long time ago, Conor made him look silly. Now it's not even close to that now.
I agree, but it did say sparring match, so like that would change things a little bit. Like,
right.
remember we were talking before too. Is this like just a little bit of a a little bit of a
exhibition?
An exhibition buzz kind of thing to do something else? I don't know. Like, but you're right. See, I guarantee you, if it was a UFC MMA fight, like doesn't have to be UFC. I guess just MMA professional fight. 100%. I might even go Poirier. Like it would be a great fight. It wouldn't be like the first, but like a sparring match, like it's just, I don't know. Like guys do that every day in the gym. Like
personally, I don't really care for a sparring match. Like, I'd rather see these guys fight in the UFC. And why doesn't Conor donate a couple million of his hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Like why does it have to be, you know, the sparring event in a gym where they've got headgear on and there's no takedowns? Like I don't want to see that shit. If I want to see that, I'll watch boxing. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. That's the thing. That's why we're talking about it. Like what's the point of it? Like they're trying to make money for.
How about just donate some money because you're such a prick and you got so much of it.
Maybe it's a charity event to pay off some of the people he's fucking pissed off. The guys he's knocked out, the couple of minutes that he's thrown his balls on some girl's face. Like you never know. Like I don't know. Trying to pay off his debts. Who knows?
Yeah, true.
We got 8 minutes left here. Do you guys want to talk about Masvidal and Edwards before we get into some easy
I'd say for a minute, but then we got some big easy lines ready to roll here.
Why don't we save that for next week's on? I think we'll have some more developments over the next week maybe to analyze. And yeah, I know our betting fans definitely have their Bet365 accounts out. So
I just got mine out because I'm ready to listen to easy lines. So.
And our percentages are
they deserve more than 8 minutes. So like let's So yeah, main event though coming up. We got Holm taking on Irene Aldana this weekend on Saturday. Looks to be a close fight, at least by the odds makers predictions here. Holm's a -125, Aldana's +100. Holm's coming off a decision win over Raquel Pennington back in January this year. Got finished by Nunes and Cyborg previous to that. Also has a decision win over Megan Anderson. Irene coming off a stunning KO win of Ketlin Vieira that earned her performance of the night at UFC 245. We just saw Ketlin win last weekend, actually, with a decision win over Cesara Eubanks. Irene's won 5 of her last 6 UFC fights. Only a split decision loss to Raquel Pennington, which some people actually thought she won. This is a great matchup in my opinion. They both have very similar physical stats. They both are going to want to strike, that's for sure. And Aldana has shown to be very kind of slick in the ground game as well previously. Holm is obviously known best for a head kick KO of Ronda Rousey. She's extremely high level and experienced kickboxer, very technical, uses her length well to strike opponents, always looks very strong and conditioned well before fights. But Irene's extremely technical as well. She's been impressive in her last couple of UFC fights. really really showed the ability to land like really crisp jabs and straights as well. But I'm going to go with the experienced one here. I'm going to go with Holly Holm. Irene is extremely talented. Her technique's definitely much improved. But I don't really see Holly Holm getting caught on the feet. If it goes to the ground, there is a little worry there. Irene could catch her in something crazy if it got there. But, compared to Amanda Nunes, Irene's not really on. It's like, a whole level below her, basically, right? In terms of the over-unders for this fight, going the distance minus 225, knows a plus 162. I definitely think there's actually value on the plus 162 not going all the way. They both love to strike. It's a 5-round fight. Irene has never fought 5 rounds before in the UFC. Against Holm, that's going to be a nightmare. Or who knows? Maybe Irene catches her in a crazy sub, but I think that only happens kind of 10% of the time. So more likely Holm is the one to catching her with a head kick or wearing it down with straight combos. But yeah, what do you guys think?
I'm in with you on that one. I got a few other ones I'm liking, but I totally trust you on that based on your resume, Z-Balls. So.
Yep. I saw your LinkedIn Z-Balls, and I agree. I sent you a connection request.
The only difference between the two is age. Like Holly Holm's 38, Irene's 32. Everything else is virtually identical.
You were waiting to use that one, weren't you?
Oh yeah. But
so good.
Yeah, I think experience takes it in this one. I'm going with Z-Balls.
Cool.
Yeah. And then next up, we got Germaine Durandame taking on Juliana Pena, I should say. Another close fight with Germaine, another close fight with Germaine as a favorite at minus 138. Pena is plus 110. Germaine lost her last fight to Amanda Nunes by decision end of 2019. But she was on a 5-fight winning streak before that with wins over Holly Holm, Aspen Ladd, and Raquel Pennington. Juliana has fought only once since February 2017. That was a decision win over Nico Montana in summer 2019. She was a fast up-and-comer 4-fight win streak before she got tapped out by Valentina in January 2017. After that, she's kind of taken some time off for family reasons. But Germaine, another very experienced kickboxer that has really brought that success over to MMA. She's going to look to keep her distance from Pena, use kicks and long jabs and straights to do damage and keep her at bay. Pena is going to look to get on the inside and use her strong wrestling. She has really strong jiu-jitsu as well. Germaine got taken down, kind of at will against Amanda Nunes, but Germaine did have some success in round 2 and 3 in that fight, landing some good strikes. But Pena is nowhere close to Amanda Nunes. So Germaine will not have respect for Pena's or overall Pena's power or overall striking the same way she did with Nunes. So I don't really see it, getting taken down easy as that. I'm going with Germaine here. Her level of competition has been higher, despite not being super active. She's still been way more active than Juliana. I'm liking the over as well in this fight. I do see Pena having some success in the grappling that will prolong the fight. Germaine wins 2 of the 3 rounds though. Fight to go to the distance, minus 163 parlay that looks good. Germaine by decision as well. I think the value plus 240. Again, 3-round fight. That looks to be excellent value in my opinion. But yeah, that's what I got for that.
I love the decision 100%. I think it goes 3 rounds for sure. Couldn't agree more with you there, Z. But I think 2 out of 3 rounds, Pena finds her wrestling, and I think she takes advantage of that. I actually like Juliana by decision. That's plus 187. I like the fight to go 29-28 for Juliana, just based solely on wrestling and being consistent with moving forward and taking her down. So I agree with you with over the rounds. I think it goes 3 rounds. I just think Juliana wins that.
Yeah, no, I totally see what you're saying there. Yeah, go to distance minus 163. I think might be one of our locks of the week, or one of the
that's a lock.
Ones.
That's a lock.
But yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing, right? Like Germaine is favored, but yet Juliana by decision is not as good value. How does that make sense, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like Pena's plus 187 decision and Germaine's plus 240. So that, you know what I mean? So there's something kind of weird going there. That's why I see what you're saying. But yeah, Juliana definitely has very strong wrestling. That is the thing you have to watch out there. The one thing I'm going to throw in at the end here very quickly, Carlos Condit as an underdog, plus 110 I like. Court McGee is a very tough guy. So I actually like Carlos by decision, plus 240. Looks like good value to me as well. And then that's it for easy line.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'll add one to that too. Sorry, Sony. Condit as well, but me and Son were talking a bit about her. Jin Yu Frey. She lost just a few months back. We talked a bit about her. Yep. She lost in the third round via armbar, was dominating the fight. I think she comes and bounced back off that loss and is fighting a very young 24-year-old 5-2 fighter who I just think is going to get outclassed by that veteran. So just a little value.
Like that too. I'm also on Condit money line in the plus. And my last one here to throw in is a guy Benson Henderson is calling the next big thing, Casey Kenny. I actually like him for the finish, and the finish is plus 240. So that's my value pick for the week.
Awesome. Well, good luck to our bettors. Good luck to our fans. Enjoy this card Saturday night, and we'll catch you next week for episode 16. Take care, y'all.
Hooks in, baby. Woo!
Next up on the Hooks In MMA podcast, we have 14-6 current UFC fighter, Tristan Boondock Connelly. How's it going today?
Good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good, thanks. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, no worries. Happy to be here.
Yeah, Tristan was born in Victoria, and he currently resides in Langley or Vancouver. And just curious on, how things have been going during this time. I know some of the provinces throughout Canada have been taking different precautions. Just wondering how it's going out there.
Yeah, I mean, well, BC, we're, as far as the major provinces, we're doing the best. Things are pretty good here. We shut down there for a while, and we're starting to figure out how to get things going as smoothly and safely as possible. Obviously, in our industry, it's a tough one because contact is inevitable. Trying to do jiu-jitsu with a mask on doesn't really work very well. But we're figuring it out. I can't really complain because we're better in a lot of places, and things are going well. We're moving forward and excited for the rest of the year.
Absolutely, yeah. We're in Ontario. We're moving to the third phase by Friday, so we're just excited for that. And we've staggered things in Canada, I think, pretty well compared to down south. So
yeah, for sure. And it's a rock and a hard place for everyone, right? I mean, it's just a weird one, right? Because there's a lot of horrible things that we don't treat this way in the world that are horrible, and it's bad, but it's the potential for the bad that sort of scares everyone, right? Like, we don't know what the real worst case scenario is, so you got to plan for the worst, right? And it sucks for a lot of people.
The transmission of it and all that stuff, but we're hopefully things are looking good, so let's just keep it that way.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. All you can do is keep going forward.
So I was just looking it up. Boondock is your nickname. I know what Boondock means, but I think I read that it came from Boondock Saints. Is that?
It did. Yeah. It did. Yeah. So when as a teenager, me and my friends, it was back before there was any streaming, so it's whatever DVDs you had. And we just loved that movie. Like, we just thought one of the mainstays, you get drunk and watch Boondock Saints. It was just what we did. And so, back at that time, you watched the movie over and over and over and over again because you got the 3 movies, and whichever one's your favorite, you watched it the most. And so my friend, it was just it was our movie. We all we had a little inside jokes with it, little lines to the movie. And it's really, a niche movie, right? Like, it has a big following.
It's a great movie.
That know what it is. Yeah, it was a wicked movie. Still love it. And so when I first fought, they're like, you need to walk out song, and I was like, I didn't want to have some hip hop song or some generic thing. I was like, my movies, my favorite movies. I really always like the opening song. Like, throw that up there. So I did that, and the promoter of AFC, he loved it, and he just said, I'll never let you walk out to anything else. So my next fight with him, he automatically played it and had me introduced as Boondock, Tristan Boondock Connelly. So I had no idea that that was going to happen until my fight was announced with that. And then the next day in Sheerdog, Tristan Boondock Connelly, I'm like, that's my nickname, going with it.
That's
That's
amazing.
Because of that, never changed the song. Yeah, I mean, it's the best way to get a nickname, right?
Nickname has to be given to you. It can't be your own pick. So
for sure.
In comparison, if I were ever to fight, I played a lot of other sports. I didn't fight, but mine would be my favorite movie's Dumb and Dumber, because I got all those inside jokes. But I don't think my name Dumb and Dumber in the middle with my last name would be a good mix. But
no, but I bet you there's something in the movie that you could find that would work, and then it would, you'd tell people, like, it would kind of work. People would, because like Boondock, people don't know the movie. They just, Boondock, yeah, that's not the right nickname. Like, it's different, it's unique, no one else has it. You don't really, it stands alone as something, it works. But there's a story behind it, which makes it that much more special.
Yeah, I'm a high school teacher, so for tonight, Tristan just gave me my homework for the night. I got to figure out what my name would be from Dumb and Dumber.
What would it be? Dumb and Dumber. Ooh, maybe I have to go back and watch it. I'm sure there's a lot of golden opportunities.
I should be able to think of something, but I'll
gloves.
Yeah.
It could be like 2 gloves, Two gloves. Take gloves off. I was all, hey, you take some of my gloves. I got 2 pairs.
2 gloves. I like that. You had this extra pair this whole time? Yeah.
Yeah, this extra time. Yeah, my hands are sweaty.
Yeah. Why don't you take one of mine? That's awesome. I like it. 2 gloves.
2 gloves.
So you have jiu-jitsu and a grappling background. Where did that start from? Or is that another lie from online too?
No. That's true. I mean, the reality is I didn't do a lot of jiu-jitsu before I started doing some striking too. I started jiu-jitsu, I think I was 19 or 20 years old, and I walked into a gym. It was called Victoria Jiu-Jitsu Academy at the time. And I did 1 class, and I was like, what was that? That was amazing. I loved it. Hooked right away. And so I did that for a year and a half before I started doing a bit of striking as well. I mean, I think even right away I was doing a little bit.
Yeah.
I started getting a little more into striking, but I always, as much as I love striking, grappling's always been my favorite. I've always I spend more time grappling than I have striking. Not that I haven't spent eons striking and love it. I really do, but it's just, grappling is always natural to me. Cardio's always been my strength. Like in grade 2, I was crushing everyone at long distance. It just came naturally to me. So the way, like, I've always had a high pain tolerance. I've always been sort of tough, and so like just worked for me. Like, I could just out grapple guys right away. Guys I've been doing it for a while, like, I would tire them out, and maybe they'd sub me 10 times, but by the end of it, I'd be all over them because they would just get tired and I'd just keep coming. So
outwork them, right?
That was kind of what really made me fall in love with it. And I competed in grappling. I fell in love with competing right away, and it just led from one thing to another.
Yeah, consistency and durability. Those are a couple things too. I think you pride yourself on.
Yes, for sure.
So when you first started getting into jiu-jitsu, you went to your first class and loved it. I think growing up, you were hockey and skateboarding kind of guy. How did it go from that to that? Because that's kind of going, a different way.
Well, so for like 2 things. So, I mean, hockey, I stopped when I was in about grade 10 because I was a real late bloomer. I was a small kid. And it got to where I was in midget, where we were hitting. And it wasn't that. It was just like, man, like, everyone was going through puberty, and I was still a kid. And I've only had like 1 real concussion, and it was from hockey. Like, I've never been knocked out. I'm sure I've had a couple, smaller ones. There's one other one from sparring, my buddy Dan. I know he gave me a mild one, but the worst one I ever had, that was playing hockey that year. I was skating, and this is how they used to treat. They didn't really think I had a concussion because I didn't go down right away. But when you hear out on your feet, I was out on my feet. So I was skating up the boards, and this a kid, and basically a man comes up and fucking just his shoulders at my head, and he just smokes my head into the boards. I felt like I saw my vision go, like tunnel vision. I heard everything go boo, And I didn't go down. I had the puck, and I just remember thinking, can't let the team down. Can't let the team down. I just skated away from the puck. And I remember like almost in slow motion skating towards the bench. They're all screaming, but I couldn't hear them. And they opened the thing, and I got into the I went through the gate, and I just fell on my face and passed out and woke up at everyone's feet. And I'm like, well, I don't know if he's got a concussion. He didn't go down at the time. And like my pupils were reactive, like, oh, I think he's fine. But I had a headache for like a week, and like a bad headache for a week. I've never had anything like that to this day. And I've been a fighter for a long time, so
that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, it is a really good thing. But it just showed how hard that guy hit me. Like, and it was like, it wasn't just his shoulder hit me, and it hit my head into the boards, and then the shoulder came behind and it crunched it in. And that's another people, like, you know, people only punch and kick so hard. Like, people skate fast or flying. The ice, someone's flying at me. I didn't see him, just right. Like, there's no wonder why hockey and football, like the concussions in those sports are crazy, because it's just no one hits as hard as a dude running at you or skating at you full speed.
No, and it
can't happen.
It's the equipment thing too. And to be honest, like I played 15 years of rugby, and I actually had to stop a couple of years ago because of concussions. But I think the equipment's a big thing. And what's that?
Probably less than those sports, and more. The concussions in rugby are probably much more minor compared to that of hockey and football. You know, football gets a bad rap, but I honestly like football per game is probably worse. But hockey, they play so many games.
So many games.
So many. It's crazy. Like what, 88
82.
games in a season
82, yeah.
Like 82. And then there's playoffs.
Playoffs up to, yeah.
It's like,
tons.
If you fight 3 times a year, that's good, you know?
Yeah, no kidding. I also mentioned rugby too, just because the only time I've ever been to BC was when I was in high school, and we went out there and played rugby.
Oh,
and
yeah. You came to the Sharks stand there. Rugby's big here.
Oh, yeah, and we played in Victoria too, which was awesome. Great place.
It was high school level?
Yeah, so we were playing in high school. We went on a tour for 10 days to BC. It was one of the best trips of my life. That and the UK trip we went to, but we played
sounds good.
That was pretty cool. In Victoria we played in Vancouver, and then we finished off in Whistler for 3 days, just skiing and snowboarding, which was cool. So
that's an awesome trip.
But yeah, we were talking about who we played against. Probably, I think it was that St. Mike's team you were talking about.
Yeah, so St. Michael's. I saw like there's 2 big high school teams in Victoria. One was my high school, Oak Bay, and the other one which is public school, and then there's a private school, St. Michael's University School, or SMU as they all called it, and they had a big team. And for years and years and years, it's been very likely the same way still. Those 2 teams always were the national winners, and it almost never did anyone beat them, but it was always between them. And so there's a huge rivalry between those 2 schools. So I was like, if you're coming to Victoria, you would probably either playing one of them or both of us. And SMU, being the private school, probably they had more money to pay for stuff, so they're probably the ones that got the big out of towner teams to try and get that experience.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it was a great experience overall. Like, in my grade 12 year, we won OFSA, which is Ontario Championships. So I'm trying to think. I went in grade 10 on that trip, so it's really hard to tell. You know, playing junior, like how you're going to be at the best top of your level at the end of high school, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but fantastic rugby out there, and a great overall experience for sure.
Yeah, it's huge there. People, and even
massive.
You know what? After high school, there's a bunch of rugby clubs that have high level rugby, from what I understand. I don't follow a lot, but like
UVic
big Victoria,
awesome.
And there's like 7, like for a small city, there's like 7 or 8 rugby post like university level rugby clubs.
Yep.
That compete at quite a high level and travel over, and it's like, I don't even know if there's that in Vancouver, but like Victoria is just, they love their rugby.
Yeah, UVic was incredible, and a few guys I played like Ontario with ended up going and playing at UVic, and then obviously for Canada after. That was kind of like
exactly. So that tends to be that UVic feeds to it, and like I say, for my high school, I mean, after I graduated, I think there was 4 or 5 guys just from like my high school that were on Team Canada. Like my buddy's brother was on
I might
rugby
even know a
sevens
few
for,
of
like,
them, to
10
be
years.
honest. Like Nathan
Do you know
here,
Sean
Yama.
White?
Sean, yeah, I know.
I don't know what Yama. Phil Mack and Sean White were 2 guys from my school that, Phil Mack was, they used to, like, in high school, you just hear stories about, Phil Mack, and not a big guy, but
Scrum half.
just a crazy athlete. Scrum half, and they used to have one of the rugby clubs. I think a bunch of them, they do rugby fight nights.
Yeah.
So basically, just to raise money for the rugby clubs.
They do that here too.
You know, it's not. Yeah, I think it's a pretty standard thing. It's awesome. You just put the gloves on, headgear, 1 or 2 minute rounds, whatever it is, and they just go at it, and it's a good time. So our coach, guy John, they called him. He was the superstar rugby coach. Most gym teachers had to teach a class. Not this guy. He just taught gym and taught rugby. His son was in my grade too, an absolute wingnut. Like, just did whatever he wanted. Had a cell phone when no one had a cell phone. Just one of those kids. Answer his phone in the middle of class, walk out. But yeah, he took Phil Mack over to the fight nights in grade 12, and he's the coach of the team, and he's taking him to, like, with grown men, and he's just knocking dudes out. Apparently he'd fight like 3 times a night, knock everyone out in one punch, and just walk out of there like just untouchable.
That's awesome.
Those are the 2 people I remember. And Sean White was my good friend Kevin's little brother. And we used to pick on him all the time, but and he made it and did real well. It's a great career. I think just retired like a year or 2 ago.
Yeah. I would probably tell a few stories about my gym teachers and what we did, but I'll keep their names off this for now. So yeah, it was reported, I guess, that you conducted like an adults clinic at the First Victoria gym that you started. It's now called Fear Studio. And talk a little bit about why that happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, back in Victoria, it's a small community. Everyone kind of knows each other, and I still stay close with all those guys, talk to them, and it's nice. I get to go home, and I get to share some of the knowledge I've passed along, or I've grown over the years. I've been in Vancouver area for, 6 years probably now. And just been doing this thing full time for a while, and I love it. And so it's great to go back and give back. My first coach, Ari, he's still going hard, man. He's now a Victoria police officer, which was one of his dreams. He was when I started, he was the head doorman at a bar there called the Strathcona Hotel, and he got me hired there as a busser. And I was choking guys out I was just still a tiny kid. Just fights to start, I just choke people out as a busser, and people are like, "Well, you're the busser. What the fuck's going on?" And then eventually, he's like, "Tristan, we should probably just have you as security." And one of the managers was, so against. He's like, "He's too small. They're gonna have problems." I was 165 pounds, scrawny little kid. And I remember Ari said, he's like, "Okay, look, I won't schedule him in any shifts while you're working, but he's still gonna be security. I'm security manager, but he's scheduled for one more shift. After that, I won't." And during that shift, something happened where some guy was in the girls' bathroom, and he's a British guy, and he just wouldn't leave. And so the other doorman came and started like, "Hey, drag him out." And we're out in the street. It's a weeknight, so there's only 3 of us, and then that manager all standing outside. So there's 2 big doormen. The manager, who's actually that real big guy, Travis, who I love. Travis loves me now. I love him. He's sweet, but he didn't want me. He thought it was gonna be problems. And the guy like looks at him. He's just like, "Fuck you!" Like the other 2 doormen, fuck you." Then he sees me, just small, and he's like, "Fuck you!" And he grabs my radio and throws it out. And I grabbed him by the face and slammed his head in the ground and kneeled in his head. I was about to punch him. The other doorman had to grab me off. And the manager went and looked at the video after. He's like, "Man, we can't even see what happens in the video. It's like in one frame we're all standing there. In the next frame, his head's on the ground with a knee on it. In the next frame, the radio hits the ground." He's like, "Holy shit." He's like, "I wrote this huge letter apologizing." He's like, "You know what? I'm dead wrong. Just to be a doorman whenever he wants. Happy to have him on my shift." And then I just spent a few years doing security rather than like less bartending and bussing and more security. Sort of more up my alley.
I think if we figured out one thing during this interview, it's don't fuck with the Boondock, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember one day I was bussing, and there's a fight breakout, and one of the bigger doormen, buddy of mine, Oz, he's grabbing this guy, and I see this guy, like another guy that's big, about to like sucker punch him in the back of the head. I threw my bus bin down, and I grabbed him around the neck, and I just kicked his knee out and slammed his face into kind of like this little fencing thing by the dance floor. And I wasn't squeezing or anything. He just went limp. Like I just choked him out with one arm by accident. I'm like, oh, can I let go? And he starts like tapping slowly. And I'm like, you got to go. And he like, I follow him. He beelines it out. Like his friend's like, where are you going? Just leaves. I walk back downstairs and there's a table that was sitting right there. I was like, oh my God, you're the fucking busser. They're like, oh, never mess around this bar. The busters are choking us out. Like,
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of what I do. And the doorman was like, Tristan, why are you always around when there's a fight? I'm like, because people aren't threatened by the bussers, so they don't have a problem starting to fight around me.
You might have like an underrated like job title for people across the world. Really tough people, put them as bussers because they won't expect them to do it.
The secret bouncers, just have them bust, and then you get a tip out, and give me a higher wage and a tip out. Right?
Yeah, because I bet you a lot of people probably don't give a fuck about the busser, and they
don't. But next to the doorman, look, if you're getting into a fight next to a doorman, it probably means you want to get broken up and you're scared and you're just trying to do it because you know it's going to get broken up right away. But if you're getting in a fight unless the busser's around, you probably actually want to fight. So, I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions to every rule, but in my head it makes sense.
So everybody out there, watch out for that busser then.
That's right.
So you got the fight call to face Michelle Pereira. I don't know from that. Michelle Pereira. How many weeks notice was that? And
5 days.
Sorry.
5 days.
Yeah, I thought it was a couple weeks. 5 days. 5 days notice.
No, 5 days.
You came in and what was the game plan? 5 days notice like that, and what was the weight difference?
Oh God, he had to be 30 pounds of me at least, because I knew the UFC was coming. So I mean, it's not like I wasn't training. I knew I was the number one lightweight in Canada, outside the UFC, and the UFC was coming. I knew if something was going to happen. There was 2 lightweight fights on the card. One was Gagey Cerrone, so I'm like, well, nothing's happening there. And there's one other one. I'm like, oh, okay. Kyle Popolak and Austin Hubbard. And so I was like, okay, so if one of them gets hurt, I'm going to get the call. So I was dieting and trying to be ready to make lightweight. But at the same time, I wasn't, I was like, maybe there's a 5% chance. So the motivation wasn't really there. I just had like a 4.5 round war against a dude named Dwan Owens. A month and a half before, where I had a massive cut across my eye, massive cut across my nose. Just an absolute war. The guy did not want to quit, and so I was, I had only been doing so much training, but I was definitely making sure my weight was good for 55. And then we find out on Saturday there's a 170 out. I'm like, okay, who's the opponent? We're like, okay, fucking that guy. And they're like, I'm like, okay, well, I'll fight him, fine, whatever, no problem. And my manager's, yeah, I know you will. They're like, but the UFC does not want you to fight him. They're like, he is not, like, he's the biggest welterweight they have, and he's super explosive. Like, look what he did to Danny Roberts. They're like, so they didn't want, they're way too afraid to have you. And they looked at me like, he's fought at 45 a couple times. This guy's fought at heavyweight and 205.
I was reading that and I could not believe that. I could not believe it.
Yeah, you look up a picture of him and you're like, I'm like, all right, fucking whatever. But yeah, so we didn't think we were going to get it. Actually, we thought my buddy Dan, who's in my corner, one of my good buddies, we thought he would get it then. But, as the days went on, like I had all my medicals done. I had everything, like I had all the UFC's required medicals, which are different than what the BC Athletic Commission require alone. So, and my manager, Jason House from Meridian, man, he was on top of it. He was like in their face on him, like, look, I already have the color kind of shorts you want. I have his corners' names, their sizes of everything. I have and it came down to like usually it takes like a couple of hours, Jason said he knows. All Saturday, no, probably gonna get it. Sunday, not looking like it. Then Sunday night, it's like, well, no one else is really like standing. It's like, well, maybe. It's like, then he's like, Sunday night, he's like, make sure all your shit's in order. So Monday morning, got everything, sent it all into him, and he's like, yeah, I don't know, we're finding out. And he's like, they're going into meeting at noon. We should know right after. 6, 7 o'clock at night rolls around, nothing. 8, nothing. I'm teaching class, and Jason calls me at like 8:45 or something, and he's like, hey, have you ever fought at welterweight before? And I'm like, fought a fat guy at 185 once. And he's like, okay, I'll call you back. And And then, sure enough, I got a call half an hour later. We got it. We're in, just, obviously through the roof, super excited. Then it was like, oh, okay, now we got a game plan. So luckily, I got some of the best capoeira MMA fighters in the world that I've been training with for a long time. People will know if I say Marcus Aurelio, the original viral spinning wheel kick knockout. He did a one wheel kick and came around with another one, and he shattered his heel on the guy's jaw. So the guy's jaw was fucking. Anyway, so I've been training with him for a long time, but I've ever met my entire life. He can box, he can kickbox, he can do jiu-jitsu, he can wrestle, and he can jump and flip and split. He just comes in the gym, and his warm-up is harder than I'll never be able to do his warm-up. As much as I've trained my whole life, he comes in and he starts flipping across the mats just to warm up and get his muscles going. Don't get it. So we just had him flip and jump and spin at me all week, and making sure I was moving and just not being there. So I already know how to deal with it, kind of a little bit. We knew that Michelle would be a little more flashy with his stuff, which clearly he was. So it was okay, it would be a little easier to time. We figured, because of that, I always know when someone starts spinning, you just move with the spin, get out of there, don't be there. And so the game plan was, okay, if this guy's going to do anything to me, it's going to be the first 3 minutes. After that, he's not hurting me. And that's what it was. The first 3 minutes, just kind of be on him, see what he's doing. But I don't want to overcommit, because even if I want to try and hit him, but it's that if I really tried to overcommit where he'd counter me with a big knee or something, I wanted to feel him. So I wanted to just be on him, kind of touching him a bit, being in range, but able to tighten up when he hit me and move if he started doing his stuff. And that was the game plan. And just in the liver, as I was breathing in, I had there's nothing. I was like, oh, that's bad. I don't have to worry about this. So he spun around. I saw him take a deep breath. We give him no steps, no time to recover, no steps backwards. And I'm just, if he catches me, but I'm not going down without a fight. And, it worked like a T.
It worked like a T. My wife and my aunt both don't really like watching fights. I watch every fight card and every single fight on the card, and I had to show them that fight. The next day, I showed them the entire fight, and they loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's the local all global news, CTV, they're all they don't call MMA fighters, they don't all in the newspapers. The Globe and Mail contacted me. I had some McLean magazine was actually reaching out a little bit, but they decided not to do it. But it's that doesn't happen. You doesn't have a UFC debut and have McLean's magazine reaching out. It's media. So look, MMA media sources. So obviously it was there were so many things. My corner Dan, what he said, he's look, if this were a movie, this would be Hollywood bullshit. I wouldn't buy it. Get the fuck out of here. Too many things lined up and went perfectly, from the short note, last minute, to him missing weight, to getting fight of the night, to if there's other thing I can't even remember anymore. It's just every single thing just it doesn't happen like that.
It'd be like Jack and Jill with Adam Sandler.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, so you got 5 wins in a row, 4 finishes. I guess what's next for you?
Just waiting, man. I was feeling good. I was getting ready to fight in Portland there, and COVID hit. Sent me home. Then I had my wife was pregnant, had a baby. I had an injury I had to deal with for a bit, which just on the ends of that, getting ready to start going now, and the baby's a month old today. So
congratulations,
starting to figure. Oh, thank you, and awesome, best thing ever, best feeling ever. But little sleep deprived, not gonna lie. So slowly starting to figure out how to do that. Now I'm feeling okay, I'm probably a couple weeks away from being in full camp mode. I just getting all my I's dotted and T's crossed, making sure my wife's taken care of. We have a good plan, and I can get out and train. Because if I for one thing, it's the baby's so new first month. It's not just COVID; it's any sickness. I going around with a bunch of people, trying to be safe, trying to be careful. So coming up with a plan going forward, what we're going to do, who I'm going to train with. over the coming months, so I can hopefully be ready for September, October. And I still want to fight 3 times this year. Like I'd fight more than that if I could. That's the plan now. It's just with what's going on in the UFC, they're not really booking anything more than 3 weeks out. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get ready to fight, and when I'm 3 weeks out, let my manager know, like, hey, I'm good to go, and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, we would be happy if you at least fought once, being fans in Canada here. So we'll hope for the first
no
one,
doubt.
and anything after would be awesome. So to finish up, we do a between round segment. So 1 minute, I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to have an answer or 2 or 3, and just give your best answer possible. Steak or seafood kind of guy?
Steak.
How do you have your steak cooked?
Rare to medium rare. I like them rare though.
Music or sports?
It's funny. I'm not huge on either, to be honest. Like, I love music, don't get me wrong, but I'm not like a huge music nerd. And for some reason, the way my mind works, when I played hockey, I watched hockey all the time. When I skateboarded, I watched all skateboarding. I haven't watched hockey or skateboarding in years. All I watch is fighting. My brain doesn't. Music's great to kind of pass the time and be in the moment, but my mind is full on fighting all the time. It's all it thinks about day, night, but dream. I can't turn it off.
That's a unique answer, and I like it. What's a better place, Whistler, Victoria, or Vancouver?
They're different. They're different things. For me right now, Vancouver is perfect. Victoria is probably, I think, the best of everything. Whistler's hardcore party town. It's great, but I don't know if I'd want to live there. Victoria is the best of everything. It just, for me, there was, my wife lived, my now wife lived here, so I'm gonna give her that. And, but just too many distractions, too many, Victoria, it's, I grew up there, too many friends, I worked in too many bars and stuff, too much temptation to go out and party and drink. Here in Vancouver, all I do is train. I don't have any friends to go and do that. I hang out with my wife and my daughter, and then I go to the gym and train, and I'm so happy doing it. All I want to do, I don't want to do anything else. I just want to eat, sleep, train, recover, like I got a few years left in this, man, 5-6 years, and I want to go hard for that, and then go hard into coaching and teaching after that. I know the rest of my life is just going to be in this sport, and that's all I want. And I'm the happiest guy ever.
Sounds good to me. Are you a beach or a boat kind of guy?
Ooh, I'd probably prefer a boat than a beach. I'm used to the beaches here. Maybe if you were comparing it to, a Thailand beach or something, I might give you a different answer. But when I think of beach, I think of West Coast Canada beaches, and
I hear you. Knockout or submission to finish a fight?
Ooh, honestly, you know what I like the best? Whether it's a TKO or a submission, over a knockout. And like, a knockout's great, don't get me wrong. But a knockout's like, oh, you got caught. Same with like maybe a guillotine, you might get caught, but I'm a fan of the broken opponent, that they give up, that you make them quit. So however that happens is my favorite.
I like that answer. Who wins in their prime, GSP or Anderson Silva?
I think Anderson Silva. GSP. That's a good one, man. Stylistically, who knows? Maybe I should say GSP. I'm Canadian. They'll probably kill me for this, but
I'm going to tell them you said that.
It's real hard to take down. I think it might have been a boring fight, honestly. It might have been a boring fight. It might have been, but I don't know. I think Anderson would probably catch George somewhere.
How about potentially a more boring fight, GSP or Khabib?
Oh, in their prime. See, I think Khabib, based on now, it's like, but okay, what if GSP were as skilled as the times were for Khabib? I think maybe GSP, but people weren't, like, the skill level wasn't the same when GSP was competing, because because they were at the level that we were learning from. Now we've all learned from them, and so we've gotten better. So it's how are you looking at it? Is he the exact GSP in his prime, the exact Khabib? I think Khabib's going to win just because he's more modern. But if you were to kind of like, based on inflation type of thing, I think GSP would probably take it.
Who wins in a rematch, Shane Campbell or Tristan Connelly?
Well, that rematch has happened so many times in the gym. Honestly, we have such good rounds. We have days where he beats the shit out of me. I have days where I'm all over him.
Make each other better.
We made each other better. I feel like we were pretty 50-50 by the end of the gym. Like, his striking's obviously better than mine. My grappling's better than his, but I could hang with him striking, and he could definitely hang. His grappling's real good, really good. I mean, he submitted me. He's the only guy I ever finished with, So I'd say you fight 10 times, 5 times each.
5 and 5. And is there a third Pereira you could call out and beat to get the strike?
Another Pereira. I can't even think of another Pereira. It's funny. I was actually talking to Mario yesterday. So me and Mario stayed in touch. I've actually gone and stayed with him in Montreal. So I can't think of another Pereira, but
the rubber Pereira match.
1-1 with them. I could definitely find. Yeah, the rubber Pereira match. I can't think. It's a unique name. I never really realized I fought 2 people with like almost the same last name.
Yeah. That's awesome. So we really appreciate your time, Tristan Boondock Connelly. Honestly, man, we appreciate your time, and we're happy to have you on. We're looking forward to your next fight. We hope you get healthy and things are coming soon enough. And congratulations again on your newborn. And this is Hooks in MMA.
Awesome. Thanks for for talking to me, and look forward to getting back
Thanks
in
again.
there.
Appreciate it, man.
Next up on the Hooks in MMA podcast, we have 10-1 professional bantamweight fighter in the UFC. He just fought recently and looking to get back in the cage soon. Johnny Kid KVENBO Munhoz Jr. How's it going today?
Doing great, man. How about yourself?
Good, thanks. So how's training been, after your last fight, and, how are things looking moving forward for you?
It's going good, man. It couldn't be any better. More focused on Pacific things. I've been utilizing the resource at the UFC Performance Institute, so they've been really helpful. So we're just going to go to the next level and enhance my performance, so I'm a better fighter in the cage and all that stuff.
Awesome. So were you born in Corona, or you just currently live in Corona, California?
I was born in Corona, California. Yeah.
And are you still there, or are you training elsewhere?
Where the gym I train at is Sequence MMA. It's located in Norco, so it's the town over.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm very close by.
All right. So, who's a few of the guys that you roll with every day that make you better? Some of the names that some other people would know, and then also just your coaches, who's in your corner.
Yeah. So like, I'm trained every day with my cousin, Alan Martinez. He's also a fighter. He's an amateur fighter. He should be pro though. I mean,
yeah.
The COVID thing really slowed it down. So we're hopefully he could get a fight soon, but he's really good. That's my main training partner. I also train with other people like Ruben Duran, ex-UFC fighter. Those are like the 2 guys. My other cousin as well, Robert, phenomenal jiu-jitsu player. So, and I always cross-train with like different people as well. Like if I'm at the UFCP, I would get roles over there. There's a lot of top-level dudes over there. And then as far as my corner goes, it's my father, John Munhoz. He's in my corner. He's my head. And then I have also my cousin Alan's in my corner. He's in there as well. He's great, helps me warm up and all that stuff. And then I have Travis Geno. He's also in my corner. And those are the 3 that were in my corner in my last fight. So I also have a couple other coaches as well. Jason Conine's my wrestling coach. I have Jesse White. He helps me out with my boxing. And then Chase Chicos, that's my strength and conditioning coach.
Great. So King of the Cage, you fought there many times, and you're the bantamweight champion there. Just speak to that promotion and kind of how it built a platform for you, obviously moving on and getting the call to the UFC.
Yeah, it was cool fighting there, man. I had fights. It was never an issue getting fights. So I mean, I started out there. They took care of me well. It's very professional. You know, there's an athletic commission. As you see a lot of these fights in other organizations, there's no athletic commission. Literally, there's guys coming out of the stands that probably never train in there, and it's like, man, that's crazy. I mean, you could see some of these fighters. There's even fighters in the UFC. If you look at some of the people they fought before they entered the UFC, it's like 0-0, and like, and this guy came out of the stand. So
Yeah,
with
they padded their record, some of them too, right?
Yeah, and not taking nothing away from them. You know, those guys are, you know, they're obviously in the UFC, so they're tough. But to me, there comes dignity when in the sport a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, say, like before I came into the UFC, I was 10-0, and say, like, I don't know, I just fought a guy 0-0. It's like, what does that really do? Just doesn't really do nothing, you know?
Unless he's got 50 amateur fights or something, but still, it's not.
Of course. So. Yeah, so with King of the Cage, you know, everybody was matched close to record and stuff. They were cleared by the athletic commission, so those guys could fight. And King of the Cage probably don't get enough credit that they deserve, but they put on good fights, and hopefully they'll be back soon. So these other young guys could get in there and fight as well. Yeah,
maybe even your cousin as well, right?
Yeah, he's the King of the Cage. He has the amateur title at 125 flyweight.
Okay.
So, yeah, hopefully they can come back. He'll get a pro fight because there's really not a lot of shows doing fights right now other than UFC, LFA, couple shows. Now it's not really a lot, you know.
Yeah, I'm in Ontario, Canada, and we one of our biggest ones here. We can't get that going here, so it's tough.
Crazy, yeah.
What's your cousin's amateur record?
What is he now? I think he's 4-0.
Okay.
Yeah, 4-0 as an amateur.
Cool.
But like I said, yeah, he should be pro already. Like I told him, like there's really no point of going amateur no more, especially with the COVID thing. We just got to go pro, and I know he's ready. So I've seen him take out some like in training. He beats down on UFC fighters. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, maybe having that 4 fight amateur record, if you can get in a show and get a few good stoppages, maybe you can get on, you know, Contender Series or like a late call for the 125 divisions. You know, it's asking for new blood, right? So
new blood, new contenders. So yeah, I think we'll have a really great shot.
So yeah, you were 10-0 coming into the UFC. You know, fought some good guys, got the call up, and then you know, you're fighting. I think wasn't there an opponent change too?
Yeah, so it was originally Ray Borge and the guy I fought, Nate Manis. They were supposed to fight, and then I think Thursday night, Ray Borge, they pulled him off for some. I don't really know why. I heard COVID, but then I heard it wasn't that, so I don't really know.
I think there was some mental stuff going on. Like he, you know, he's not sure if he wanted to fight again. I think he retired, and then now he unretired, something like that.
Yeah, something was going on. But yeah, it was those two were supposed to fight, but then he pulled out, and that's when I got the call Thursday night, and then yeah, man, then we took it. It was kind of like, man, it's like so short because I wasn't ready to go. I didn't have anything ready, but they told me I had to get on the road now. So I mean, then I was like, okay, well, let me ask my coaches, make sure everyone's good to go because I'm not gonna go by myself. And so, you know, it's a team thing. You know, they've been there for me, so I wanted to do it all together. And fortunately, they were able to go, and then we were on the road to Vegas.
Yeah, just speak to that. Like that's like 2 days notice basically. You had to get everything together and get there. That's got to play into you know, being ready to fight, and not to take anything away from you, but like that's got to be tough.
So, yeah, I mean, so like I said, I got the call. It was like 7 p.m. Thursday night, and you know, then we decided to do it. So we got on the road, but it was no guarantee. Even on the road, they said you got to be on the road, but there's no guarantee. So I didn't know I was fighting until like literally it was on. I think it was Thursday night, but it was Friday, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., somewhere around there. Because that's when they sent me everything. I had to sign it. And so that's when I knew, okay, it's going down now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then the USADA came in. They came in. I do an USADA test, and I do a COVID test. And it was just a lot, man, a lot to do in that time span. And so that's why I'm looking forward. Next time I'll have more time to do that because all those guys have, you know, you do that throughout the week. So you get it instead of rushing it so quick. So it was just a crazy experience, but, you know, I wouldn't change anything about it. It was a cool experience. And Yeah, man. Then, Friday then did the weigh-ins. That was pretty cool. And then the rehydration process was real cool. The UFC, they're very professional on that, and the way they take care of all the fighters on the rehydration and all that stuff. So literally, you just got to focus on fighting. Like, they're handling all that other little stuff, which is real great. And then my management team, Iridium Sports, they were very helpful as well. So literally, it was just, even though it was like a day and a half notice, whatever you want to call it, I was literally focused on fighting. All the little things were taken care of.
No, that's good to hear. So I got to ask, during the fight, obviously, there's 3 low blows that they had called, a stoppage for, not a complete stoppage, but a break in time. Is that something you've ever been called for? Or is that just kind of bad luck with the way that the strikes were coming in, or?
Yeah, I never been called for low blows ever. It could have been a mixture of things, the way the kicks were coming in, the way he was moving. Like I rewatched that fight so many times, and like the first low blow, like that was like, okay, I messed up right there. But the other 2 were questionable. Maybe I'm being biased because that's me in there. I don't know. But I've heard a lot of other people on the internet that I don't even know that spoke up about it. But like, yeah, I replayed that. Like on one of them that I think it was the second one, I believe, that I got called for, the foot. Like when I threw the kick, my foot hit the hip. So it was like more the front top of my ankle, lower part of the shin that hit the groin area.
Yep.
So to me, I was kind of like, okay, well, then that kick that wasn't even that hard. So I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of fighters sometimes they'll play the groin thing. If you notice, like, you see it in all the fights. Like,
oh yeah, lately there's a ton. There's a ton.
But then they're ready to go like instantly. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, not he wasn't ready to go instantly, but you'll see that with a lot of guys. Like they'll get hit. Oh, I'm good. Okay, then why did you? You know what I mean? I think it's a psychological thing a lot of times. We're in there, we're fighting another human being. It gets scary, and they're like, shit. This guy's trying to hurt me. I'm trying to hurt him. So sometimes, in the heat of the moment, that's kind of like you can kind of take a break from the fight in a sense, rethink things, even if it's 2 seconds, a minute, however long you take.
Yep.
You're rethinking things. Athletes do it all the time in other sports. They'll find those little holes where they can stop the contest. You see it in soccer. You see it all the time. So.
Tennis, I saw it this week a few times.
Really, tennis?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. They take a reset, and they have to take a mental break, and then they reset themselves mentally, and then they come back in, and it's like a refocus. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and not saying, I wasn't in his body, but that's what I think after watching that. I mean, I've seen low blows. Like it's not like you heard like one of those. Like that, when you hear that, it's, oh shit, like that hurts. But it was just kind of, to me, it was questionable. That's my opinion about it. But with MMA, it's so fast paced. Like we're the most dynamic sport. So there's really never a stop of the action unless the ref kind of a poke in the eye, a groin shot. So, I mean, us fighters, we're going to use those to kind of stop the contest, rethink things. Like I said, other sports do it. Baseball, they step out of the batter's box to rethink. They're watching the pitcher. The pitcher would do it. So I think for MMA, I mean, those are our moments where we're able to do it. And like I've done it before, you know what I mean? Where it got hit in the groin, and to me, it wasn't hard, but I was like, oh, shit, I'm just rethinking things. And I think I've only done it one time, but in this fight too, I got hit in the groin, and I just kept going. I wanted to fight. So
yeah. Well, based on on your weight class too, it's the second smallest weight class, which means, in my opinion, it's the second quickest technically. So I mean, when strikes are coming in that quick, and your movement for Nate Maness was that quick, like things are going to happen like that. So it's unfortunate. I did watch that fight. I'm going to rewatch it again just based on what you said, but I knew about Nate Maness because he fought in TKO up kind of close to where we live here, and I saw a couple fights of his up there. So I was invested in that fight. I didn't know about you per se, but now I do, and looking forward to your next one.
Awesome, bro. Appreciate it.
No problem. So what is next, and what is like your timeline? I know you don't have anything booked, but what's like a timeline for you? What are you hoping for? Is there any names out there that you'd be interested in fighting?
Yes, I'm hoping to get back in early December before Christmas, preferably. I think somewhere on one article said like October, November. I never said October. I said November, but then I went to the UFCPI and we did a lot of different tests over there. Like, this is crazy. So then I was like, okay, I want to try some of this out. And so I was thinking of time frame, December, just so I could kind of test some things out.
Yep.
And yeah, so I'm looking to get back in December. I think will happen. So I don't really have details on an opponent. But I like to fight anybody that, you know, I know I'm not ranked or nothing, but it's someone close to kind of where I'm at right now. So I could build off that, you know, and there's so many guys at bantamweight. So
Yeah. Deep
there's
division.
Yeah, it's a deep division. So there's a lot of tough guys, but, you know, I'm willing to take on any of those guys that are, you know, just got in or been around a minute. So, and I can showcase my skills. And then, yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do. So I really
Awesome.
want to get back in there, get a W, and showcase why I belong in there.
Yeah, with more time to prepare as well.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you like to do after fights? So just, you know, something you like to do for fun. You know, do you get away? Do you whatever?
After fights, I like to eat, bro. I like to eat In-N-Out, tacos, whatever, just food, a lot of food. And yeah, so like after fights, I think they always give you like a week suspension. They always do that. Even if you knock a guy out in 10 seconds, like they always give you a week. So usually I'll take a week off and just it's hard for me though. Like I'm not gonna lie, like I'll get back in the gym right away. I've done it a lot of times.
Yeah.
But usually after fighting, like I like to eat, get out, maybe go on a little mini vacation, go outdoor trip. I like the outdoors because I feel for me that's the time I could do it because I'm always in the gym training.
Yeah.
So anytime, little time like that I get, I like to travel and do things. Besides fighting, traveling is what I love to do the most. And after fighting, when I retire, I think that's something I'm going to be doing a lot.
Yeah, that's great. That'll help me segue into our last segment between rounds. So 1 minute, I'm going to ask you a question. You just give your best answer. And the first question is favorite food.
Tacos.
Favorite sport other than MMA.
Jiu-jitsu, but something that's not combat based. I would say football, soccer.
Okay. What would you rather do? Go camping or stay in a hotel?
Go camping, of course.
Yeah, me too. Favorite getaway spot in California?
I would say Twin Lakes. That's past Mammoth. It's Bridgeport, California.
Okay, what's good about there?
It's a lot of wilderness, deer everywhere. There's bears. You go camp. There's creeks, lakes, a lot of good fishing, a lot of good hikes, and there's like a hot
Yep.
spring.
Yep.
So it's super cool. Just nature, dude. It's really awesome.
Sounds great to me. Favorite country in the world other than the USA?
Mexico.
Favorite genre of music?
I like a lot of music, but I would probably say 80s.
Okay. Do you have a favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time? I would probably say Batman: The Dark Knight.
It's a good one. Who's on your top 5 pound for pound MMA fighters of all time?
Okay.
Doesn't have to be 1 to 5, just top 5.
I would say GSP, Sakuraba, Fedor, John Jones, I guess, and is that 4? I think I said 4.
4, yeah.
And then I would say
KVENBO?
I'm gonna be there. Matt Hughes. I'm gonna say Matt Hughes.
Okay. If GSP comes back, do you think he can beat Khabib?
Oh yeah, I think he has a good shot. You know, age is a question, but you know he's a great athlete. I think he's taken care of himself throughout the years. So I think that would play a favor. But I think GSP for sure he has a great shot to win that.
In the bantamweight division, who would you have? Aljamain Sterling or Peter Yan?
I'm gonna go with Aljamain. I think he takes that fight.
And Marlon Moraes is facing Corey Sandhagen soon. Who do you got in that fight?
I got Marlon Moraes.
Any sponsors, shout-outs, or social media to finish off?
Yeah, so I like to give a shout to my team, Sequence. Everyone over there. My management team, Iridium Sports. longtime sponsor, Howard Combat Kimonos, Contract Killer. Have a lot of sponsors. Sports Specific Rehab, Game Break, Sports Massage. I don't know if I'm missing anybody else. I know I got more, but it's not clicking. But you guys know who you are. I'd like to thank all of you guys, and all my new sponsors that I've been getting along the way as well. So I appreciate everybody for their support.
Well, we appreciate your time. We have had lucky to have you on today. 10-1 mixed martial artist. We hope you get more than 48 hours for your next fight. I'm assuming you will. Johnny Kid KVENBO Munhoz Jr. Looking forward to your next fight. Thanks for your time.
I appreciate you. And anybody watching, check out this podcast. Give the page a follow, and you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Kid KVENBO as well. I appreciate you guys.
Awesome. This is Hooks In MMA. Take care.
Thanks, brother.
Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, yeah.